Blog Talk Radio.
Well, here we go. We're debuting a new show in the stables. He's Mark Hefferman. We got a good guest in today, Rick Curdy out of Charlotte, who's part of a big stable recognizance out of North Carolina, Charlotte Bats. We'll get introductions here momentarily. Two marked men. And I'll tell you, it's Uncensored Sports Smack 347 205-9631. You can email mancinisports@yahoo.com. We're going 30 minutes of pure hell. So whatever's on your mind, we'll bring it to the table. We don't like that regurgitated sports talk that you hear on the local things, and sometimes you stand there and you turn it off after 5 seconds. No need to turn it off here. We're going to be critical. We're going to get right to the point. It's what the listeners want to hear. Without further ado, let me start with Mark Hefferman. Give him the podium, the mic, and the red carpet. Mark, how can anybody get a hold of you? And, boy, the debut of this great show.
The red carpet treat, but I've never been on a red carpet before. That's awesome. Golden Globes Awards, man.
Yeah.
They decided to try to be funny last night, not talk too much about politics.
Yeah.
You know, Mark, I think it's pretty cool that Mike McCarthy got the job at Dallas. I think he's a good fit for the program. He's a disciplinarian, so I think he won't put up with a lot of BS that some of their players like to come up with. Hopefully, Jerry will give him some reins and won't overshadow him all the time. As you know, McCarthy won the Super Bowl with Green Bay and kind of went downhill a little bit there at the end, but I think the problem there was that Aaron Rodgers, I think, thought that he was an associate coach, and so he rubbed McCarthy the wrong way the last year or so. But I think he's a good fit for Dallas, much better coach than Jason Garrett, who I believe was a pushover and was kind of a fit for Jerry Jones. Dallas has talent on both sides of the field. They should be a better football team, and I think that he will make them a better team. They'll have a better WL next year and should contend in the NFC.
Well, let's give it over to Rick Curdy out of Charlotte. He's got a show in the stables, Charlotte Bats, and he's on another show with you, with, you know, the Alcatraz out of San Francisco with a couple of guys out there, and who knows where they are. They could be outside that Alcatraz. They could be in a boat somewhere. Bruce and Cabby. That's another big show, and thanks to Breck Smith running everything in the stables. We are so blessed and honored to have this thing going. In 2020, it's going to be nothing but moving forward. We're expecting to get 30 more cities in here by beginning of March. So we're going to be loaded to the rafters and give Fox a run for their money and some of these other organizations out there. It's brand yourself time. Rick, without further ado, how can people get a hold of you? And welcome to the show today.
Thank you, man. You can contact me at charlottebatsbaseball@gmail.com and just connect with me, contact me, and if you have any questions, I'm not afraid to answer them.
Okay, I'm not going to pull any punches here. That's why it's Uncensored Sports Smack. You bring it to the table. We're not sugarcoating it. We're not going to bring it and, you know, say, you know, it's, you know, to the point where people, you know, don't want to ruffle feathers. We will ruffle feathers on this show. So if you're not used to it, grab a chair, sit back, brace your feet, and listen to this, because we're going to start with the Dodger ownership. This is a Mickey Mouse operation, a bottom line. I mean, Wayne Gretzky once said it, guys. Well, when he went to New Jersey to play the Devils, the Oilers came in there, called it a Mickey Mouse operation. The reason he called it a Mickey Mouse operation is they didn't want to spend money. Well, the Dodgers are bigger than the New Jersey Devils. Let's face it, boys. Second biggest market, haven't won a World Series in 31 years since my daughter was a year old. And this is an organization that is content on division titles. They'll tell you everything. I've got blasted on XM radio. I've got blasted on, you know, WXE out of St. Augustine on the local show on Fridays over there. We've been breaking it down on the baseball shows with Jeff Juden, Let's Rock Sports, also Warren Brewster's Philadelphia Phillies alumni show, and we've broken it down on a lot of things. And, you know, to me, they're content on division titles. They're content on promoting Cody Bellinger's the National League MVP, and they will sell tickets being the leader of the franchise in home runs with the rabbit ball escalating out of Dodger Stadium and ended up in the parking lot there. And who knows if it's rolling around Silver Lake or Echo Park or one of those areas. But, you know, I'm not buying anything that these these guys tell me they will not win unless they get rid of the Guggenheim Group, and they got to do something. This is an organization that made a lot of money. Nobody can see them in L.A. 70% of L.A. can't see the Dodgers, so that's kids growing up that can't see them. And to me, they put out a team. They're content in selling tickets. I'm not a big fan of Dodger Stadium. I've said it before. It's a dump, and I will stick with that thing. There's a lot of other stadiums around this great country that look better than Dodger Stadium. So don't look for me to get a job with the L.A. Dodgers anytime soon. Mark, as I give it over to you, I think I've lit a cannon, and we've got the dynamite kegs lit too. Your thoughts on Stan Kasten telling Bill Plaschke of the L.A. Times that he's not really worried about this team heading into spring training? Is he smoking something, or is he still celebrating the holidays?
He's smoking something very good, I'm sure. He's melting back there. Well, you have a team that gave up basically Hyun-Jin Ryu, who went to Toronto, signing on his contract there. He was like the number 1 and number 2 pitcher for the Dodgers last year. He was healthy. They let him go. He's about 32 or 33. So they let go Rich Hill, who's older veteran who was hurt a lot. They're kind of banking on their young guys to step in the roles 3, 4, and 5. Urias from Mexico, and then the other 2 guys they had last year. So you have 2 second-year starters, and then Urias, who I think is better suited as a long reliever. And they'll back up Clayton Kershaw and Walker Buehler. So a lot of question marks in their starters, and they still have Kenley Jansen as their closer. They still think he's great. His ERA was 2 runs higher last year than in his heyday a couple of years ago, but they still think he's great, and he can get people out in the 9th inning without giving up a gopher ball. They still believe that. They're probably can win the division or get second place in a division, but they're not a good enough team to go beyond that. They don't have the talent to go beyond winning a division title if they do win a division title. So they kind of maxed out.
They're myopic.
A year or 2 ago, they're sliding the other way.
Yeah, exactly. As I give it over to Rick, you bring up some great points. I get ripped on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Please don't compare the Pittsburgh Pirates with the Los Angeles Dodgers. We haven't done nothing in 20 years. We went to the playoffs 3 straight years. We didn't get nowhere. The wild card, we've changed ownership as far as the president, the GM, the field manager. We're getting rid of players. Good things are coming to Pittsburgh, but the Dodgers they're the leader. If you look it up in the dictionary, Rick, the definition of insanity is doing something over and over and over again and hoping for different results. I don't know if these fans are blinded by the light, and I don't want to say they're wrapped up in a douche in the middle of the night, taking something from a song, but these guys are really blinded. And when you talk to Dodger fan comes out and tells me that, well, we got to the World Series, 2 teams can only get there, and 1 has to win. Yeah, okay, let's relive this one, Rick. We failed to get Chapman. We thought, he was a wife beater, so they didn't go after him. They failed to pull the trigger on Verlander. We failed to get Bryce Harper. They've used every excuse why they didn't get Garrett Cole. He wanted to be a Yankee. And now they lose Ryu, they lose Hill, and I'm not looking at Hill to win 15 to 20 games with the Dodgers. I'm looking for leadership in that clubhouse. And they lost him, and now they're going to have Walker Buehler come back in his sophomore year and try to, anchor a starting staff, which looks really bad because Clayton Kershaw, I think he's still looking over his shoulder to see where that ball by Soto and Rendon went. And let me tell you something, Kenta Maeda wants out. So, Stan Kasten, if you're listening to the show, blogtalkradio.com/Mancini Sports. I'm Mark Mancini. We've got Mark Hefferman, Rick Curdy out of Charlotte. Let me tell you something. We're not buying the BS that you're selling us in papers and anything that the Dodgers are all right and you're going to do something. Keep your right-handed bats, keep your left-handed bats, win your division, but beware of a team down south. The San Diego Padres are coming. Rick, I think I've lit about 2 cannons. We've got some firecrackers going off and everything. You wanted Uncensored Sports Smack. I think we brought it to the table tonight. Rick, your thoughts?
Well, I totally agree with you. I think the Dodger organization is delusional. I think they really messed up by keeping Dave Roberts. Mike Scioscia is out there. He used to be a Dodger. He's a beloved Dodger. He needs to be the manager of the Dodgers. get rid of Dave Roberts. Kershaw needs to be banished from the playoffs and being in the World Series. That should be a new rule in Major League Baseball. The Clayton Kershaw rule. You cannot play in the playoffs because you choke so much. He is Sandy Koufax in the regular season, and then he turns to Tom Niedenfuer in the playoffs. I don't get it. I don't know if it's something psychological with them. And they haven't changed anything. Everything's the same. They're like, oh, we like our nucleus. We feel we can go a long way. Really? You guys are the Buffalo Bills of Major League Baseball. You get to the big show, and then you choke. And I'm a Dodger fan. I love the Dodgers. I grew up going to Dodger Stadium, living in Torrance, and it's sad. That was the biggest choke job that I ever seen. And, I give my hats off to the Nationals. They ran off with it. I didn't see it happening. They did. And I was telling people the Dodgers are very vulnerable. They don't look confident at all. And again, it's the whole Clayton Kershaw experience. And again, he choked. He's Tom Niedenfuer in the playoffs. And they need to make some changes. But I do not like Dave Roberts there. They should have brought Mike Scioscia in, and that would have been tremendous because he's got that pedigree. He's won the World Series. He's a great coach, and didn't end last couple of years he struggled. But man, Scioscia needs to be the manager and get rid of Roberts.
Right on. 20 minutes left in this show, and let me give it over to, we got a caller out of New York. I think it might be Lou. It is somebody out of New York. It's Lou?
It is, Mark, yes.
Okay, we got Lou out of New York, and first off, I'll tell you right now, guys, you don't have to, and Lou's in New York, and Lou is, sitting back pretty happy with what the Yankees are doing, and the Yankees aren't done yet, and you could have across town, Philly and the Yankees in the World Series. I'm going to hang my hat on those two squads. Because I think the Phillies are going to get Chris Bryant here. But let's get Lou in here real quick. We'll give it back to, Mark. Get over to Rick. Well, your show's popular. We just started 2 marked men. Uncensored Sports Smack. So if you don't bring something to the table, it's going to be like any other sports show. This is a different sports show. And I'm trying to figure if the Dodgers, Lou, I know in New York you don't have to worry about that with the Yankees.
Right.
But they're going to have a special day at Dodger Stadium. It's called Bag Night. You can put the bag right over your head, punch some, eyelets, and, for the mouth so you can eat the Dodger dog. So nobody knows you're actually at the game to watch this franchise try to concoct another 8-division title and sell everybody on a bill of goods. We're not buying it. I'm not buying it. And, like I said in the earlier thing, I don't look for the Dodgers to give me a job with them, and, we got to say what's on the mind. And this is what Sports Talk's all about. Lou, as we give it over to you, Garrett Cole wanted to be a Yankee. He's a West Coast guy. He signed with the Pinstripes. I'll tell you, the Yankees are going to be tough to beat.
I imagine so. But, the thing is that, now they gave him a 9-year deal, but there's an opt-out after 5. And if he doesn't perform well, the Yankees are looking to void the rest of that contract. $324 million, and you're looking to be void that deal. Is it just me, or is there something wrong here? You pay him all that money, so let him do it. I'm not completely sold on it. Let's see how he does over in Pinstripes. It's gonna be a little tough to make the transition at first, but I think we gotta give him a little bit of the doubt here. Because he is a good pitcher, and I think he's what the Yankees could use. It's been a long time
exactly
since,
right.
Since we won a title, too. We haven't now won in 11 years, which by most is it's not a lifetime, but when you're a Yankee fan, you expect to win. You expect.
You might want to just relax on that because the Dodgers haven't. We've won it 20 more years than the Dodgers have. Mark, as we give it over to you, the show is picking up steam. It's the debut. 2 marked men, Uncensored Sports Smack. As I give it over to you, I think the big highlight of Dodger Stadium this year will be the All-Star game, and that's probably the highlight. Gosh, if you're going to go see the Rockies or the Giants or the Diamondbacks, you might want to try to see if you can scoot down buying a cheap seat to that because the Dodgers should whack those teams, but keep your eye on the San Diego Padres. Mark, as the sports thing starts to get around in L.A., another team in L.A. I'm not buying stock in, and they figured him out, Sean McVay. They figured his whole system out. Jared Goff, a baby deer in headlights. Todd Gurley's a broken horse. The Rams sit home, and the Rams are blaming it on injuries. Well, I remember a quote from John Wooden years and years ago, no injuries, no excuses, make adjustments. And the Dodgers and the Rams always have excuses why they can't win this thing. Did anybody think the Rams were coming back to the Super Bowl? And if you did, the rest of the division caught up on you. Mark, as I give it over to you, your state of the Rams, and now we find out Wade Phillips has said bye-bye.
Wade Phillips said bye-bye. Well, he should have been fired anyway. He has done a good job of the Rams for the last 3 years. The game's kind of passed him by. I think he's very slow reacting to changes in the present game and also changes within the course of a game. And so they need a younger defensive coordinator, someone who's aggressive and will demand that players learn how to tackle, at least in camp, you know. The Rams are a very poor tackling team, especially their DBs. I think they improved their cover this year, but still are a lot of weak tacklers in that team. They're not a tough team. They're very soft, finesse-oriented. As far as Todd Gurley, they need to draft a running back in the draft or make a trade. They need somebody else because he's not going to carry the team anymore, number 30. A big disappointment. I mean, a lot of guys can get 40, 50 yards rushing in a game and catch 3 passes. He's a shell of what he was 2 years ago. He was Offensive Player of the Year in the NFL. Jared Goff, well, I don't want to go into too much detail with him. He did great the last 2 games, but they didn't really mean that much. He's basically between the second and third tier quarterback in the NFL. And I guess the Rams and McVay think he's going to, escalate his ability. Been in the league about 4 years. Did a good job with him as far as, making him sort of like from when, Jeff, the previous coach, drafted him. And I guess they thought he had some potential. And he has some potential, but he'd be better if he was on a 500 team. When the Rams this year were 9-7. He's not the right quarterback to be on an elite team. So the Rams have issues at quarterback, and they got to pay him. I think it's like 120 guaranteed. Gurley has about $55 million guaranteed. You really got to, if you're not going to trade or do anything with Goff, you got to get another 1 or 2 running backs. You have to probably draft 1 or 2 offensive linemen because their linemen are older and they had a lot of offensive holes this year. Need a linebacker or 2, need a defensive back. They need help in a lot of areas. One area they're great at is they have a fantastic punter in Johnny Hecker. And their field goal kicker's still pretty good, Zerline, but he wasn't quite the same as he was a year ago. So a lot of problems there in Los Angeles. And they're going to play in a new stadium next year, SoFi Stadium. Man, they're not going out there with a top-notch team. I don't like that, Mark.
Well, I do like it, but you're going to have to fork over a couple of mortgages in advance just to see them play anybody, and I don't think they're going to do anything, and I don't think the Chargers will do anything. Only stock I'm buying in Los Angeles is, the Clippers. The Lakers are not going anywhere. I don't think they're just there's 7 losses or have been teams that have been 500 or better, except they beat Dallas in one of the games, and the Kings are David Koresh following. The Kings aren't going nowhere, and the Mighty Ducks are. They're built after a movie, so good luck with that. So I'm only buying stock in Los Angeles on the Clippers, and I'm high on that one, and I'm looking to turn a profit on the Clippers. Rick, as we give it over to you, the Rams, and we talk about things, but their offensive line is depleted. If you don't build your offensive line, you're not going to do anything in this league. 3 teams scored over 40 points on this defense. Tampa came in, Jameson Winston. We saw what Lamar Jackson did to him on a Monday night. And then they went in December to play the Cowboys, and the Cowboys shredded that defense. But I'll tell you one thing. I would keep shredding that defense till they get better on it. And now we're going to find out who they're going to keep and who they're going to let go. I know there's problems in Charlotte. I like to hire, being a Redskin guy on the NFC side of things, Pittsburgh on the AFC side. But on the NFC side, Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio, get that number 2 pick, and you get that kid out of Ohio State. And I'm looking, at the Redskins doing something with Haskins at quarterback. Watch out, Ohio State connection coming to D.C., and Rivera's going to turn them around. Your thoughts on the Rams? Your thoughts on what's going on in Charlotte with the Panthers?
Well, the Rams look like they've been exposed. That Super Bowl hangover. I don't know if that's what it was or anything like that. Dave McVay's been kind of exposed. He came in as like the prodigal son, the great new superstar, the great young guy, the Mozart of the NFL head coaching, and this genius, and doesn't look like the genius has been kind of exposed, and they look bad. Goff looks bad. I've never saw him as a franchise quarterback. Giving him all that money was a massive mistake. Gurley looks bad. They probably need to trade him. He probably just needs to just move on. They just need to build on a lot of stuff there. They have a lot of holes everywhere, and their team looks old. But they got a new stadium. That's a great thing. They're going to sell tickets to that new stadium. They're going to tell people, forget about it. We'll be back, but our new stadium is the best stadium in the world. So they'll sell people on that. And the Chargers, never, ever, ever should have left San Diego. That was the biggest mistake. When you can't sell out a soccer stadium and half of the people there are rooting for the road team. And we'll see what happens with Phillip Rivers, Now, I live in Charlotte, and I don't mind having Phillip Rivers. If the Chargers don't want him, hey, we need a quarterback badly, And unfortunately, probably Cam's going to come back because we don't have anybody else. We don't, Allen looked great, but he's not a franchise quarterback. Will Greer, he needs some more seasoning, and we need a head coach. I was very sad to hear that Mike McCarthy went to the Cowboys. From day one, I said I want him to come to the Panthers. He's a great coach. I don't know why a lot of people are down on him. People think Sean Payton's a great coach. I believe he is a fantastic coach. But if you look at their records, it's very identical to each other. So I'm happy for McCarthy. I don't know about what's going to happen with him and Jerry Jones, just like Ron Rivera. I'm not worried about him, but I'm worried about the owner of the Redskins, Daniel Snyder, another meddling owner, a guy that just doesn't get it. And he needs to just step back, shut up, let the coaches coach. And if he lets Ron Rivera just do what he does, he'll be successful. So, a lot of question marks everywhere with the Rams, with the Chargers, definitely with the Panthers and the new owner. And we'll see what happens.
Great take. We're down about 8 minutes left in the show. As we start to move on the show real quick, let's go through 1-minute intervals. As I go out to Lou in New York, I know the Jets had a worse record than the Rams, but you know what? I think the Jets, when you look at their wins, I mean, if you're not looking at it, they took out the Raiders, they took out the Steelers. I know they lost to the Bengals, but this is a team that, they took out some teams. They took out the Cowboys. We saw they beat, the Redskins, and people might say, well, the Redskins, but these are premier franchises. When you start taking these teams out, Oakland, Pittsburgh, Washington, Dallas, and I'm more excited to see the Jets do something than I am the Rams because we all knew the Rams were going to beat up on Arizona a couple times, and if you didn't see that, well, you're still celebrating in the holiday season, I guess. But I'm not buying stock in the Rams. We talked about that before. Very critical of this organization. And the Chargers, if they bring in Tom Brady, I don't think he's going to leave. Everybody's burying Tom Brady, seeing the dynasty's over and all that. Be careful. Relentless pursuit of perfection. Mark, as I give it over to you, and then we'll get it real quick here. It's amazing that, Tom Brady, a lot of people think he's going to the Chargers. And then we'll spin this thing around as the 7-minute mark hits with this show. Your thoughts on the Chargers maybe getting Tom Brady?
Well, I think it would be somewhat of a positive move for them. You're not getting the Tom Brady of 4 or 5 years ago. You're getting an older Tom Brady who needs good players around him. Now, they have a decent running attack, have some pretty good receivers with, Casimir Allen. And the defense really kind of flopped this year. Last year, the Chargers were an outstanding team. I'm not really sure what happened this year. Lost a lot of games down the stretch. Rivers did not perform well in the clutch, and he's another guy that's getting older. Would Tom Brady be a plus over Rivers? Probably. Rivers tends to force the ball a little bit more than Brady does, but Brady needs players around him. He needs an excellent offensive line. He needs a running attack. He needs pretty good defense to perform. He can't do that much on his own. If they have a chance to get him, then they'll go for him. I don't think he's going to change the complexion of their team that much, though, Tom Brady, versus my deal with the Chargers. As far as the Rams are concerned, they'll probably be 9-7 or 10-6 again next year. They got to play the AFC East teams, though, so the Rams will be playing New England and the Jets and Buffalo and teams like that. But I'm not really sure. There's a lot of question marks about the Rams. Who are they going to keep? Who are they going to trade? Who are they going to release? So we don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen in the offseason.
And they're going to be playing the NFC East, too. So you got New England, and you'll have the Jets coming in here along with the Giants and Cowboys, and they'll be going to Buffalo, Miami, Washington, and Philly. So I don't care what these divisions look like. They're not the, world beaters, but you know what? These teams are up and coming. Miami, we saw what they did to New England. Washington's going to be coming on. Carson Wentz will be healthy. Cowboys will be good. So, I'm not going to sit here and think the Rams are going to just be just as good, if not better, because I got to see some of these things. A lot of money spent on those two guys. Rick, as I bring it to you, boy, this show is flying. Let's see if we can get it to a minute each, and then we'll give it over to Lou. Your take on anything that you want to talk about, whether it be the Charlotte Hornets or anything. I'm sure in Charlotte you can see a Hornet game for $10, unless the big teams start to come in, and nobody's beating the Milwaukee Bucks. Fear the Deer, they're taking the championship. They are attention to detail, and your thoughts on the Charlotte Hornets and seeing a good team come in, whether it's the Clippers, whether it's the Lakers, whether it's whoever. But the Hornets need some help.
Oh man, it's again we're on the theme of bad owners. I talked about Daniel Snyder, Jerry Jones, and I got to add another bad owner to that list. Unfortunately, it's Michael Jordan. He's just a bad owner. He was a bad GM with the Wizards. And he's the problem. He just he wants to be the star. That's the thing. We had Kemba Walker, great player. Look what he's doing in Boston. I mean, it's amazing what he's done. I'm not surprised on the success of Kemba Walker. And the Hornets are just going to be the Hornets until Michael Jordan is there. The best thing he did was that he got rid of the Bobcats and brought back the old Charlotte Hornets name because people love that. It's synonymous with Charlotte. And unfortunately, he's the one hurting the franchise. And he just wants a bunch of yes men around him. He wants to be the star. And he's kind of like Donald Sterling, like, I own a basketball team, but they're not good, but I own them, and that's pretty much what it is with Michael Jordan. He's just happy that he owns a team, and it's really sad. And for the Panthers coach, disappointed we didn't get Mike McCarthy. I think they're going to be interviewing for the Patriots Josh McDaniel, but I think he's going to go to the Browns because he's from Ohio. So I don't know who they're going to get. I have no idea. And, hey, Tom Brady, if you're listening right now, come to Carolina. We need you. I'll take you. I don't care if you're 45 or 105. We'll take you. I'll buy you lunch. I'll help you pack. I'll take you to a show. I'll hook you up with Michael Jordan if you want. You guys can be best buddies. We'll take you to Carolina for 1 year or 2 years, or even Phillip Rivers, somebody. So we need all the help we can get. It's going to be a rebuilding year. And great thing about the Panthers is that we got McCaffrey, who's one of the most explosive, dynamic players in the NFL right now.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. Hey, we're down to about a minute and 40-something. Real fast, Lou out there in New York, any take on anything with the Jets-Giants?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Although the Jets did not have a winning season, they certainly did make a lot of improvements in the second half. And so it is kind of like a victory in some sense. And just one thing about Brady, look, if Kraft has his way, Brady's not going to leave the Patriots. He's going to do all he can to keep his number one guy.
Yeah. Rocking the shores of Lake Erie. Catch that. What day is that on real fast, Lou?
Monday
Tell
night,
everybody out there rocking.
Monday night, 7 to 8 p.m. East Coast time.
Wow, thanks to Brett getting that thing. Guys, as we wrap this show up, special thanks to Mark Hefferman, and I will be back here next week tearing it up. We'll be talking about ugly logos, Flying Elvis, the Aquaman logo maybe in Golden State. Who knows some of these logos? We'll talk about that next week on the show. Might be joined by these two guys, Lou and Rick out of Charlotte. Two marked men, Uncensored Sports Smack. If you don't have a take, don't come here. It's not worth coming because we're not going to sugarcoat anything as we tore the Dodgers up, the Mickey Mouse operation. And if you're anywhere around, pass that information on to Sandcastle and tell him it's Mark Mancini. He can call in, listen to the show. Who knows? We might have a beat writer from the L.A. Times. Till next Monday night, 5 to 5:30, 8 to 8:30 on the East. I'm Mark Mancini, and for Mark Hefferman, Rick Curdy, Marty and Lou Tenor, thank you very much for listening. You can log on to this thing, archive, blogtalkradio.com/Mancini Sports. It's on Stitcher. It's all over the place. You're going to YouTube with it. Thanks to Breck. It's amazing. 30 new cities coming by the end of February, beginning of March. We're blessed. Till then, have a blessed night, and bring the smack next week.